Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a lot of new subscribers and I want to say thank you. I don't know where you guys are coming from, but glad you're here. Now, we are going to talk about something important today, right? As if every other day isn't important. But I will tell you that, and now if you're new here, I'm channeling this. It's about 60% my spirit guides, 40% Susan. And let me just paint a little picture for you. Susan is like on an old time stagecoach, and she's got the reins of some horses, of like 8 of them. Those 8 horses are my spirit guides, and they are dragging us through the terrain out of control. Because I don't know, this energy is so big, fast, important. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm going to do my best to manage it and to communicate to you what the spirit guides want to do. It is really a maelstrom up in my head when I do these videos, right? I'm seeing pictures. I'm hearing words and sentences. I'm getting thoughts and I'm getting feelings all at the same time. And that is why we require 40% of Susan to try to make sense of all that and literally form it into human words, into human sentences that make some kind of sense. So you will see me sometimes stutter or pause or say the wrong thing or the wrong word. It's just because when they're showing me McConnell, sometimes McCarthy at the same time, I want to talk about McConnell, but then they're showing me a picture of McCarthy. Can't do that. So that's kind of the energy today. It's loaded. It's really loaded. So let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about George Santos. Now, if you're not familiar with George Santos, you get an A because that means you haven't been paying attention to the news, and I so applaud you for that. Listen, we do need to stay tuned in. Otherwise, we might wake up and we all might be speaking Russian, but we also need to really take care of ourselves. If you watch not my last video, which was my Way Out Wednesday video, but the one before that, there's some real positive, and I mean key concrete steps that you can take to deal with this political craziness and environmental craziness and just all the craziness, all the crazies, okay? Go back and watch that video for some steps on how to deal with this. But let's move forward with George Santos. I want to say Holy Mother of God for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe my guides have switched out. And now I don't know what's going on up there. Here's the thing, guys. What the short story is that this guy is not going to stay for long. He's going to get booted out. It's not going to be very easy. He's not going to go easy because he's financed, right? We're going to talk about that in a minute, but he is going to go. And I'll tell you why he's going to go. Because New Yorkers don't play that. They don't play that. We now look like idiots for having voted for someone who is such an outright liar. Now, some of you know I live in Texas. I know, send thoughts and prayers. However, I grew up and was born in Kentucky. It's not any better. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I'm from the South, guys. I am from the South. Now, I will tell you this as a Southerner, that New Yorkers are like, no, we're not going to be like those people that voted for Abbott and DeSantis and vote for McConnell and vote for Herschel Walker. You know, Herschel Walker is a good example, right? Here he is saying all these things that are not true. And the Republican Party never divested themselves of him nor his untruths. So in that way, they rubber stamped the fact that you can lie and we're going to vote for you and we're going to really get behind you and push you through. Now, thankfully, New Yorkers are like, no, no, that's a bridge too far. And when I say New Yorkers, I mean New York Republicans. New York Republicans are like, no. So we now have the AG, the New York AG is Republican saying, hey, if there's a crime, I'm going to investigate it. Nobody's above the law. Have we heard that before? So listen, George Santos is going to go through some things. Not going to be pretty, but, and I don't see him staying longer than 6 months, but but he's not going to be easy to get rid of. Like, he reminds me of Carrie Lake, who's still saying she won, right? Trump still saying he won. This is a playbook. So I think what's more important here than George Santos is a very ugly symptom of the pox that is on our country. He's a symptom. Donald Trump is a symptom. Carrie Lake, McConnell, DeSantis, Abbott, all symptoms. What I know that is going to happen is that we're going to get to the actual cause, the root of these sickness symptoms that the country is experiencing that's trying to kill our democracy, to be honest with you. Okay, now this is worldwide. If you're watching this, I have a lot of viewers from all over the world. Y'all know, in case you don't know Texan, that's Texan for you all, or y'all know you have your own problems, right? I'm going to be talking about Netanyahu next. So let's stay with George Santos for just a minute longer. Yeah, New Yorkers, no, that's a stain on their respectability. They really see themselves as a cut above. I mean, I'm laughing because it's true, but I'm also laughing because sometimes I do get mad when I'm on social media and people say, those Texans deserve everything they've got. Let them freeze without a grid and without electricity. They deserve it all for voting in Abbott. And I'm going to tell you, it really irritates me because I did everything I could to keep him from winning. And I was a very strong supporter of Beto in every way that I could possibly be. So when you guys say Texans deserve, Floridians deserve, whatever, that's not really true, right? You're penalizing the people who worked really hard for it not to be true. The odds are stacked against us. Gerrymandering, your vote means nothing in some of these districts. Literally, it doesn't even count the way they've gerrymandered the districts. I just realized, this is crazy, but I just realized yesterday that there are more Christmas tree recycling drop-off points in the city of Houston than there were polling places. Okay, you see what I'm saying here? We are far behind the enemy line. And if the DNC really wanted to fix this shit, they would pour a megaton of money and support into the South. We are the ones that are breeding these people like Trump. Help us get rid of them, right? So I told you the energy was strong. I dress like a corporate psychic today, except for I do have this, this should tell you something. When I bring out a crystal this big, it's about to go down, okay? So, whoo. Okay, let me dial back my energy a little bit. George Santos, he's gone. He's not going to be there long, but it is going to be protracted. It is going to be ugly. You will see a division, splits in the Republican Party, but I just hear the words he's going to be recalled. So maybe it will actually be some sort of vote, some kind of people get together and recall him. That might be the easiest thing. I'm not sure. I take that back. I am sure. I was going to say I'm not sure that he's committed a crime, but the guides were like, oh yeah, he's committed crimes. I'm like, okay, never mind. But the thing is, as we know, with Trump, that these criminal prosecution cases take a long time. They just take a long time. And that's part of our democracy. That's part of making sure that you're really given every opportunity to prove your innocence, right? So the criminal part of whatever he's done, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only, is going to take too long. So I think you're going to see a recall. You're going to see a recall mount in the spring. It might be February, March. I told you it was going to be protracted, right? It's not going to be quick. And again, I would take this opportunity to say to you that I am telling you what the spirit guides are telling me, and I'm also reading the energy of the situation. I'm not always going to tell you what you want to hear or what Susan wants to hear. And for that, we know who to call. 1-800 Spirit Guides. Press number 1 for complaints. Okay, now let's move on. I'm telling you guys, I'm just go with me here for a minute. Okay, go with me. What does Netanyahu and Liz Cheney have in common? I'm not kidding. Let's talk about Netanyahu for a minute, because honestly, this affects the United States, because this is the energy that we're all steeping in right now. It's a really yucky, nasty energy that we're all sort of coated in. So Netanyahu this morning on NPR says, yes, I'm a far right leader, but I am going to hold those far right people in balance. No one is going to touch the steering wheel. It's exactly what he said. Nobody's going to touch the steering wheel of the government of my country but me. I'm going to protect the rights of our LGBTQ whatever community, and I'm going to protect the rights of our Arab friends. I can do this. I'm the only one that can steer this vehicle, meaning the country. Now, when the reporter said, well, what about the fact that you are a proponent of reducing your Supreme Court's authority or, ability to affect your governance of your country? And he said, yes, of course, because I can't say it with a straight face, they're not going to agree with me. They may vote against LGBTQ. They may vote against our Arab friends, right? I'm the one that knows how to do this. They should just basically give me the power. Okay, guys, there it is out in the open for everybody to see. And I feel like, again, what the spirit guides said in the very beginning is that we have to look at what's behind, what is the cause of this illness, not just the symptoms. Netanyahu is a symptom, right? This energy of Trump, of wanting to be the authoritarian king or the monarch or the kleptocrat or whatever it is, you name it, it all boils down to basically the same thing, which is I alone am the only person who can solve this. And so thank you for voting me in, and now get out of my way, right? So this notion that Netanyahu is a softer, gentler ruler. He's not going to execute LGBTQ. He's not going to throw him in prison. He's not going to throw him in a labor camp. He might even be nice to his Arab friends. He might, maybe, what does that mean? Be nice. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, I wonder what that is actually going to end up looking like in his leadership, given his very strong stances against that very thing, right? So this energy is so much like Trump. Look, just trust me. I know how to do this, right? And honestly, it's a lot like Liz Cheney. Now, let me explain. The spirit guides said from the very beginning, Jan 6, very beginning, the day of Jan 6, Liz Cheney was going to take over the Republican Party, or she would annihilate it and destroy it, and then either take over it or start her own party. They've said that in many, many videos. And here we are. She's done everything she can to destroy the Republican Party as it is now, what is it? Racist, crazy whack jobs, right? So that's fine. I get it. And that's why a lot of people really want to put her in the hero column, right? She's a nice, reasonable Republican. She saved our country. If it wasn't for Liz Cheney, we wouldn't be a democracy. I've never been a fan. You guys know this if you're a regular watcher. I've never been a fan because my spirit guides said this from the very beginning, that she is going to be a formidable opponent. Those are the words they used, and they're like seared into my consciousness. I can't get them out of my consciousness, right? Formidable opponent. Now, let me talk to you about this. List, and the guides said this. They're reminding me, I'm reminding you. They said she would kind of track to the middle a little bit. Now, the middle for Liz Cheney is, the middle of far right. If you look at her voting record, she voted 93% for Trump and his policies. 93%. Same thing with Adam Kinzinger. Same thing. They're not moderates, folks. Don't mistake them for moderates. They're not moderates. They're a different spotted Republican. They have spots in different places, okay? Now, the thing about Liz Cheney is that the guide said that she would slide a little bit. Now, this is just like Netanyahu. This is why it blew my mind when I heard this morning, and I thought, I got to get out of my PJs and put a comb through my hair and get some clothes on and do a video. That's why this energy is just so big. Netanyahu is basically what we say in the South, putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. No offense to pigs, but you're still a pig, dude. You just put lipstick on it. This is Liz Cheney. The guide said she'd do the same thing. She's already come out, changed her stance against gays and lesbians because of her sister getting married. Now, that was a while back, but I fully expect to see her start to soften her stance on some things. Because she's so far right, she can come a few notches towards the left and still be in far rightville, but look like she's changed a lot. She can literally remake her whole identity with just a few small changes. And this is just like Netanyahu. He's remaking his identity with a few small changes. He's still Netanyahu. So what? He's not going to lock up gay people. He's still Netanyahu, right? My dog agrees. So here's the thing, guys. I want to tell you, so the energy is this kleptocrat, this authoritarian, this king. Only I can see the way it should work. Follow me, that kind of thing, right? And if you're on my side, we're all good. If you're not on my side, then, you're going to suffer in some way, fiscal or physical or both. So that makes you want to be on their side. I mean, who wants to suffer? Who wants to not have access to the money or the resources, right? So let me talk to you about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney supports and is very friendly with Ginni Thomas. Now, if you don't know that, if you're not aware of that, I can repeat it again if you like. It's true. It's pretty much been proven. There's enough leaks out there that it's pretty obvious to everybody, okay? But I will tell you psychically, what I want to tell you is that when she went in, when some of the reasons why Cheney and Kinzinger went into the Jan 6 committee, why did they flip? Why did they put everything on the line to lose their power in the Republican Party, right? Why did they jump sides? Well, here's why. Because they needed to protect the bigger picture of the dark money. It's all coming out. This dark money is all coming out. Who financed George Santos? 1 minute he's working at a call center and has $55,000 salary, and the next minute he's got $5 million, $7 million. I mean, like that. That doesn't happen to normal people. It happens to people whom certain countries that start with an R show up and say, hey, you look like a good candidate for us. You've got the look. You can be gay. You can be liberal. You can be Jewish. You can be all these things. Let's reinvent you really quickly here, and then we'll have you run for office, and we'll have another owned politician in Congress, in the United States Congress, that we control the strings to. So this is why, I'm not kidding you guys, this is why Liz Cheney went on the Jan 6 committee, because the Jan 6 committee had a narrow focus of just Trump. They have decided, the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, the rich, the wealthy, the famous, the corporations, whatever you want to call them, I don't care. They decided that Donald Trump would be the sacrificial lamb, that if we could just feed him to the people would be satisfied, and then we could go on about our business. But as you can see, the Republican Party doesn't agree with that, right? The Republican Party, as you can witness within the House, trying to decide who's going to be their new speaker, is split. It's still split. Cheney has not taken over that whole energy yet, because Donald Trump and Russia are not in agreement with this. Okay? Donald Trump and Russia want to destabilize. Well, let me take that back. Donald Trump doesn't care. He just cares about power and money. Russia wants to destabilize America. Russia wants us to fight each other, to fall in the mud, and to be the ugly American, and to lose power and status. This is a war, to be honest with you. It's a psychological operation, war, propaganda through Fox News. You can see it right now. You can see Tucker Carlson is being played on Russian state TV. Now, if you have a person in the United States of America that has a broadcasting show that reaches millions of people, and that person is being broadcast on a country that is not your friend, that's pretty much propaganda, don't you think? And don't you think it's doing a good job of splitting up America, of splitting up the Republican Party, right? So where we are now is that Liz Cheney thinks that if she can just sacrifice Donald Trump, that the American people will accept that, will blame everything, and I mean everything. You will start to see him being blamed for the snowstorm in Buffalo. I mean, you'll see him blamed for everything. The Republicans will throw every bad thing they've ever done on top of Donald Trump and light that fire and send him off on his funeral, right? But it's not enough. I'm just going to be honest with you and say, and Liz, honey, if you're listening, I know we got our differences, but girl, step off. Okay, just step off. Anyway, it's not enough, because at the same time, for some crazy reason, probably astrologically, we're waking up. Americans are like, wait a minute, this is bad. Like, I don't like this book banning, and my daughter, cousin, gay, wife, husband, nephew, son, me, whatever. No, we don't like that. We want to have control of our body. You know, there's so many things that are now actually hitting normal people. When I say normal people, I mean the people in the 9-to-5 job, the people who are living their lives that maybe aren't tuned into politics, are now being affected by some of these crazy Republican policies. And they're starting to see how their votes have been stymied, how their choices, whether they're healthcare related or choices about their laws in their community, have been subverted. And they're done with this. And the spirit guides have talked a lot about this, about the people waking up, standing up. You're going to see a lot of protest in 2023. And I mean a lot of protest. And you're going to see the right is going to be there with their fugly groups, and the left is going to be there. And maybe even the far left, who knows? It's going to be just a lot of competing voices, all screaming that they're not happy, right? And luckily, we do have a president that can get out there and speak truth and be earnest and be present and be compassionate. And I think that's going to help us through this. But Liz Cheney is protecting Ginni Thomas. She is protecting the dark money. Because that's how it runs, folks. And I'm going to be honest with you and say there's some Democrats with their hand out with that dark money too. People that have been in office a very long time, and they really should just retire, because I think this energy is going to count coup. It's going to count heads. It's going to take people out regardless of what party you're on. And I don't care. I'm just as happy. If we've got a Democrat that's got their hand out the dark money, I want them gone too. I want everybody gone who's not on the up and up. Now, you may disagree with me politically. That's a disagreement. But if you're doing something illegal, you've got to go. So that is why Liz Cheney told Jan 6, we are going to bring Ginni Thomas in But she's not under oath. She wasn't under oath, you guys. Now, why not? If anybody has a connection to Jan 6, it's Ginni Thomas. Come on. So Liz Cheney is doing her best to keep everything the way it is, but yet make herself a new queen of the Republican Party, just like Netanyahu. Just like Netanyahu, right? Look, I can do this. I can manage this. I'll give them a little bit of, oh yeah, LGBTQ. Oh yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But it's lipstick on a pig, people. It's the same thing. So that's why she's supporting Ginni Thomas. But what's interesting is that Jack Smith does not give a peanut about any of that. It's beautiful that this man has not been in the United States. He's been over there in The Hague dealing with war criminals. He has not been connected to our illness here. He hasn't been affected by our illness here. He is going to be able to see everything as if from a completely new perspective, as if he wasn't even American. And that is fantastic, because that's what we need. Now, I do think that Jack Smith, what they're showing me is Jack Smith is going to come and slam the hammer down. Now, honestly, Trump is a foregone conclusion. They've all decided he's toast. He's walking around Mar-a-Lago by himself, muttering to himself. He doesn't go anywhere. He goes to a golf course 2-hour drive away. Now, he's not taking a corporate jet 2 hours. He's driving 2 hours. Now, why do we think that is? I mean, we think he doesn't have the money, or do we think he can't fly? Because he can't fly, because they won't let him get in a plane. Why hasn't he left Florida? Why isn't he doing rallies? Come on, you guys. The two-part trap, that was part one of the two-part trap, which was to lock him down. Lock him down so he couldn't flee. Not saying he's not going to try. Legally, he cannot flee. Now, he can do whatever he wants illegally, of course, or he can try. But beyond Trump, if we put Trump in jail tomorrow, did it fix our problems? No. We still have DeSantis. We still have Abbott. We still have McConnell. We still have all these people, Jim Jordan, McCarthy. We got all these people that are numbskulls, that are allegedly criminals. Okay? Jack Smith comes on the scene, and he's going to lay it out. He's not going to take any prisoners. And I'm not kidding you. If there's a Democrat judge, a Democrat senator, a Democrat House of Representatives, or a Democrat dog catcher, doesn't matter. If you broke a law and you're connected to something he's investigating, he's going to put you in that report. It's very, his energy is very sober. It's very clear-eyed. He doesn't have all this fog that we have here in America. Now, the question is, don't be mad. 1-800-SPIRIT Guides, press 1 for complaints. Will Garland do something with it? Jack is going to give Garland this report, and it's going to be damning. It's going to be the ugliest thing you've ever seen since just before the Civil War, because it's going to connect the dots, all the dark money, back to Ginni Thomas, back to Liz Cheney, back to all of them, McCarthy, George Santos, what's his name? Abbott, DeSantis, all of them. And maybe there's something that's not criminal, but is slightly stinky. You might look askance at it, about Garland. Now, isn't that a problem? Now, what do we do? How do you, I'm seeing this big, huge butcher block paper, diagram of all the connections. Now, how do you take some scissors and just say, we'll just do this part? Because that's what Jan 6 did. That's what the committee did. We're just going to take Trump out. We'll be fine. He's the cancer. Take Trump out. He's not the cancer. He's a metastasized piece of the cancer. The cancer is the dark money. So I told you, it's like 8 freaking horses running off with me. As we get into this energy, I would say that, right. So it all goes back to the very beginning, and the guide said this in the very beginning too. And when somebody says something to you and you can't forget it, or you don't forget it, I mean, let's face it, we don't remember what we had for lunch yesterday, and yet you remember what some stranger said to you 20 years ago, right? Or what a friend said to you 10 years ago. It's just like, bam, it was branded onto your brain, right? That means it has real importance. It's sort of like the biggest breadcrumb you could find in the forest, and you should probably go back and write it down and think about it and see how it applies in your life. But in this case, the guides are saying that in the very beginning of all of this, when it was all breaking open, the spirit guide said it's all public. All the information you want to know is public. And I mean, that's kind of infuriating, to be honest with you. And then it happens, right? I mean, Maggie, everybody wrote a book. Every journalist wrote a book. Half of Trump's people wrote books with what should have been, frankly, evidence in there. But I think by making it public, it takes the power away. It's not a secret anymore, so we don't think it's important. But it is important. It's extremely important. So this stuff that Jack is coming up with is public. We know this. We've been blinded to it. We've been blinded to the idea that it's important, or blinded to the idea that it's real and it's true. You know, we may joke about Russia owning our Republicans. You know, we may joke about that, right? But it's freaking true. And we need to stop joking about it and realize this is the real God's honest truth. And we need to do something about it. So Jack will present to Garland this big detailed report. I do think that Garland will act on a good portion of the report, but not all of it. Honestly, what they're telling me, and they've said this to me before too, the cure shouldn't kill the patient. The cure should not kill the patient. This report will kill the patient. We may not be able to recover from this kind of exposure of the totality of the grift and how embedded it is in our everyday lives. So sometimes you deal with as much of the cancer as you can, and you watch the other cancers to see if they're going to grow. So that's kind of where we are. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Jack is going to give Garland a report that could kill the patient. And I think Garland is going to, and I know you guys people say, oh, this can't happen because it's whatever. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm talking to spirit guides. Tell them it can't happen. Go ahead. But I see, and I preface this by saying, because I saw it, I see Garland ringing up Biden going, dude, we got to talk. This is some shit. Like this is bad, you know, and Biden going, how bad is it? And Garland's like, really bad, you know? So this isn't supposed to happen. Garland isn't supposed to talk to Biden. There's supposed to be separation of powers. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen, because when you have something like this, that's this damaging, you've got to call the commander in chief. You have to. It's your duty. It's your duty. It's like if you found a Russian submarine in the pool of Mar-a-Lago, you would call Biden and go, dude, we got a problem, right? So this is important. And I do think that Biden, his people will come up with what is that? what is the Marshall Plan? These things they do, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I swear to God, I have to look this stuff up to tell them what I'm talking about. Let's see. The Marshall Plan, known as the European Recovery Program, was a U.S. program providing aid to Western Europe during the devastation. Holy smokes. What's a simple definition? I love the Google. What's a simple okay. It became known as the Marshall Plan, named for Secretary of State George Marshall, who in 1947 proposed that the United States provide economic assistance to restore the economic infrastructure of post-war Europe. So in this case, the Marshall Plan, it's obviously a metaphor. Obviously, they're using this as a metaphor to say that we will have, listen, if you're going to unplug dark money, and that dark money has been operating our economy, even if it's falsely, or even if it's illegally, if you unplug that and you unplug all of it, it's going to kill the patient. Do you understand now? So they'll come up with a new plan, and it's not exactly the Marshall Plan in the sense that, I don't think Britain is going to bail us out. I don't think, Canada's going to bail us out. But I think that we may depend on some of these countries to provide resources that we stop getting from, say, on the down low, dark. This is dark money. We don't know where this money's coming from. So now if we have like a Sunshine Act where we have to know where all the money's coming from all the time, then that gives legitimate countries, legitimate players, an opportunity to come in and fund whatever it is that dark money was funding. Okay. So I think that's kind of the metaphor they're using, but I don't know, you guys. If you guys can figure it out, let me know, but that's what they were talking about. So, wow, that is pretty crazy, isn't it? I'm just going to end this video by saying that, that's crazy. They just showed me, I wrote down Santos, Netanyahu, and Liz Cheney. I'm looking at those names written down. They showed me a table being flipped, somebody taking the edge of a table and just flipping it. So I think what we're going to find is that these people are going to be a lot less powerful going into 24, not 23, into 24, into 25. The power quotient is going to flip. We're not going to kill the patient, but we are going to excise a lot of these cancers, a lot of this illness. We're going to go to the heart, to the part of these things that is not just a symptom. Now, we're not going to do it all, but we're going to get to a lot of them. And that's why I think the guides just showed me a table being flipped over. So that's why I said in that last video, guys, we have a lot of upheaval coming, a lot of upheaval, because if the cure is going to kill the patient, then you can imagine how much power is behind this, how much power is behind keeping this unknown and keeping this dark money relevant. It's feeding too much power. So to get rid of that power, get rid of those dark money, it's going to take quite an effort. It's going to take quite a bit of upheaval to change that. But it's all because we're ascending. I know that sounds crazy, but it's all because we're ascending, because people are waking up and going, I want to be treated like a human. I want health care that doesn't bankrupt me. I want to have control of my own body. I want to have control over who I love. I want to be treated like a human, no matter the color of my skin or my culture. End of story. That is ascension. People are ascending, they're feeling the energy, and they're actually mobilized by the energy. And that is what is going to make these changes. So that's why we're going to see upheaval And that's why George Santos, Netanyahu, and Liz Cheney are all connected in some way energetically. Okay. Listen, if this video has not made you crazy, made you run around your room screaming, or maybe you've already clicked off by now, thank you for watching. I don't know how you stayed with me during this crazy thing. I don't know how I got it out of my system, and I'm not sure that it's all the way out, but I'll be talking about this a lot because I really want you to understand it's all for the best. We're heading in the right direction. We truly are. This unmasking is going to be ugly, but it's needed. We need to get to the root of the problem, and we've brought in Jack to help us do it. I do think Garland will take action, and I do think, according to the guides, flipping the table, that's a big power quotient shift and change, and it's going to happen. So get your crash helmet out, strap in, get ready. It's going to be a wild ride, I guess. I don't know. In the meantime, go get a new hobby. Check in with the news, but limit it. Think of political news as like something super rich that you can only eat a small amount of, and then it gives you a stomach ache. Because that's really what it is. And that's really what it's going to be going forward. Look, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting this channel and all the wacky things that I do on this channel, from ghosts to politics. I really appreciate you so very much. And together we're going to get through this just fine. Okay? Take good care. We'll talk soon right here on this channel. For entertainment purposes only.